Nature has always been my biggest source of inspiration, and whenever I get the chance, I never miss to capture these beautiful creations or moments. Because you never know when or how these would become my next piece of artwork. These videos were taken during my last summer holidays, and inspired by these flowers, I decided to create or try out some miniature floral sculptural forms. To my surprise, this became a sample work for a large custom order. Even though the early inquiry and some discussion started early this year, the confirmation of the order came really late. So obviously I was running short of time and crisp and clear planning was mandatory. So how I started planning was to write down number of floral patterns to be cut down, number of leaves and all other textural elements that need to be cut down from the plastic bottles. There were 2 dimensions of artworks with 3 different colors, and I had to even write down all the materials that is required, and a big shopping was in my list. The planning and the calculation of all these textural patterns itself took so many hours, and I had to write it down particularly with some dates and deadlines in order to complete this task in time. Even though I wanted to shoot the entire process, it felt like near to impossible because I had to work throughout day and night, and I had to work like a machine almost. So I couldn't remember to keep my camera on. Whenever I was getting time, I was always focused in creating these textures. I even lost count of the number of plastic bottles that has been used for this project. But I remember cutting more than 500 floral shapes. So the initial phase was to cut down the plastic bottles into rectangular pieces, which can later be cut down into desired patterns. I decided to cut them into circles later and then into floral patterns. So I decided to approach it as 3 different projects. I needed 30 artworks of 1 dimension and 10 plus 10, 2 different colors in one particular, which is a smaller dimension. It was really exhausting, but I knew this will be time consuming, and later when I move to the assembling part, it will be much more easier. It was really exciting to see the flowers taking form. I cut down these flowers with 8 to 10 petals. Usually I get asked if I use some sort of machine or a die cutter to cut these flowers. It is absolutely a no, because all these are handmade floral shapes. And then I moved to paint it white, and later I painted one side in different colors, that is yellow, purple and pink. I sorted and arranged flowers according to the colors, and this yellow orangish, which is basically Indian yellow shade, this was of maximum numbers, and I was regularly updating my planner with number of bottles being cut, number of petals being painted and things like that, so that I could keep everything in track and make sure that I am in line, or I am going according to the initial plan, and I'm sticking on to this timeline. As per the plan, I moved to making smaller details and textures which need to be added in the middle of these flowers. And these are the leftover plastic pieces that I have saved for my future artworks. This will go as the background texture for some of my works. I have almost covered 50% of the task, because I almost cut all these shapes and have colored it in different shades as per the requirement. Now I need to cut few more shapes and make the central portion like this, and that's it. 90% of the cutting is then done. Now moving to today I'm hoping to start with assembling works. So it's gonna be like a floral sculpture.
30 of them is in one particular one dimension, and 20 of them of two different colors will be in a smaller dimension. But all these 50 pieces need to be completed in the coming 8, 9, 10, 3 days, and 1 day left for packing. So these are the things that I'm currently cutting. So it's portions of bottles cut into circles. So the details, as you can see, it need to be cut like this on the edges. So these patterns will go in the middle of flowers, and these flowers are just done with the coloring. And I have more. These red colors, these will be going as the middle portion for the pink flowers, and these are the purple ones, and the yellow middle portion that I just showed will go to this part, and this is yet another one. So all these are cut, and the paints have been dried. So I will hopefully start with assembling work today.
The initial phase of assembling will have stacking of 2 to 3 layers of these floral formations into metal wires. So prior to that stage, I measured these metal wires in equal length and then made these small swirls and started with the process. I'm just making holes using a long needle, and that is more convenient for me, and stacking different layers of petals or flowers. It really felt like a spring bloom happening in my own studio, and it was such a beautiful feeling to see these floral formations taking form finally. And I was working day and night. And it was time to move on to next stage, which is to make my base ready. I had to drill holes on the base, and there were 50 of them, so I was continuously drilling the holes and then moved on to assembling all these flowers in numbers. So these smaller works, that is 20 of them, were almost complete, and now I could happily cover it with the glass domes. The glass domes complemented the artwork so well and made it look just perfect. Next phase is even more prettier or beautiful because it's the making of monarch butterflies. I really enjoy or love creating monarch always, and during my early art or painting days, I used to paint monarch butterflies on glass and perspex a lot. And now I'm recreating it in a 3D format, and it was really fun. So I made 30 of these and I'm attaching the wire to it. Look at that, I had these smaller hands to support me, which made the process much more fun. So by this time I moved out of my studio space because it was already full with the smaller works, and now I moved to the dining space, and this work was created all together on this table. And my daughter enjoyed this process of adding details on monarch. These 30 artworks were the most time consuming, and I was feeling so relieved that finally I was nearing to the final phase of this process. Once 30 of these gorgeous pieces were made, and now it's time to pack them. I still cannot explain in words the happiness of seeing these spring blooms taking form in my studio. It was such a rewarding moment for me to see these artworks, which had taken form from a small video that I had taken during my summer holidays. And that's it, you guys. I couldn't believe that I could complete this on time. And now I'm moving on to packing it. First, tying it with a burlap ribbon and then carefully keeping it in the cardboard box. I had written a note about the artwork, which explains the process and the beauty of or about my inspiration behind the artwork. And I had made a sticker for it, and it were all individually packed. Now we were planning to keep these individual boxes in this larger box, so it will be much more easier to transport it in a car. So these artworks were created as a VIP gifts for the ministers in Qatar and was delivered at the Ministry of Environment and Municipality. And that was a journey of taking inspiration from nature and transforming it into an artwork. I hope you all found it beautiful and inspiring. And I can't wait to explore more beauty from nature and try to replicate or portray them in my own way using the so-called trash. Thank you for joining. Bye.